You know, I was thinking about something yesterday about how easy it is to get caught up in the chaos of running a photography business, of being an independent small business owner. The client emails, the editing backlog, the social media posts you meant to schedule several days ago, the pricing concerns that maybe even keep you up at night. It's a lot. And somewhere in all of that noise, it's easy to lose sight of why you started this in the first place. You know that you have to know your why. You've got to know your why. You've got to keep it in mind all the time, in your world all the time, because otherwise it gets clouded by all the stuff that happens in your life that you experience. But here's what I want you to remember: you're not in the wrong place, you're not lost. You're just in the middle of your journey. Hey there, Lens Legends, and welcome to another episode of the Portrait Profit Show, where we focus on the business side of photography. I'm your host, Jim Landers, your guide on the business side, and it's my mission to uplift portrait photographers to make a great income doing what they love. Each week on the Portrait Profit Show, you get tips and systems on the business side of photography, all designed to help you gain a mastery over marketing and sales, which reduces the struggles that most photographers face so you can finally get what you deserve. You are in the right place. Welcome to the Portrait Profit Show. The Portrait Profit Show is brought to you by Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School. For Digital Pro Lab, Amanda and her amazing, wonderful team are going to make you look like a hero. And that's just by default, because she hires fantastic people. They are people who love, the employees are people who love what it is they do. It's a career for them, not just something that's they're here today, gone tomorrow. They ask them, the majority have been there for a very long time because they love this stuff. I recommend that you go to digitalprolab.com if you haven't already to experience the difference that Digital Pro Lab can make. I'll put that up on the screen real quick. Digitalprolab.com. Reach out, send them an order. And if you haven't had your images printed yet, you do not know the feeling you are missing out on. So find out. It's easy. Go to digitalprolab.com. By the way, Digital Pro Lab has a couple of things coming up in a week and a half, 2 weeks, and I'll share those with you at the end of today's lesson. It's also sponsored. The show is also sponsored by Landers Photography School. That's me. I teach both the photography side and the business side. I've been teaching for 29 years. In that time, I've written over 250 classes. So a lot in that time. And I teach both the photography side and the business side. So I'm prepared to teach you a lot of different things. I don't know everything, but I do know people who do. And so if there's something I don't know, then I recommend. But with 250 classes that I've written, chances are I've got you covered. Reach out to me at jim@landersphotoschool.com or go to the website, landersphotoschool.com, or I'll put this up on the screen. Put yourself on my calendar. Just go to calendly.com/photoschool/15MIN. And let me put that up in a static way rather than as a ticker. So make a screenshot of that if you don't have that already. This is free. I don't charge for this. You just have to make the effort. So there's the address. I'm taking it off for now. I might put it up later. We'll see. I encourage you to make comments, to ask questions as we're going through today's discussion. And I want you to go to the comments right now and enter in hashtag live. Now, I can see that some of you have already done that already. And so I appreciate you doing that because that's the norm. That's what I ask for every time. And thank you for doing that. But if you haven't already, go to the comments section and enter in hashtag live. That tells me that you're watching the show live. Now, you could be watching on Facebook. You could be watching on Instagram. You could be watching on LinkedIn or YouTube because we're simulcast to several different platforms, and on those platforms, several different pages. So we're simulcast several different places. For those watching the replay, I mentioned I wanted you to enter in hashtag live, but for those watching the replay, please enter in hashtag replay. So I also request that you share the Portrait Profit Show because that's how people find out about this show. That's how people benefit. That's how you found out about it. Somebody told you. So do the same thing. Share the Portrait Profit Show. By the way, it's really easy. If you're on Facebook, you just click the share button or you tag someone in the comments. You just put at and then their Facebook name, and that will tag them, letting them know about the show. Oh, man. If you don't know it, I want to make sure that you understand that every successful photographer that you admire has been exactly where you are right now, concerned about pricing, wondering if they're good enough to charge what they're worth, worried about booking enough sessions. The difference between them and the photographers who've given up wasn't talent. It was the power of determination. Yeah, the power of determination. A concept that I introduced to my oldest son years ago when he was a 3-year-old, when he asked me about superhero powers. I told him that we all have power. Of course, the conversation didn't end there because he asked, "Oh, what's my power?" I responded, "You've got a really good one. You have the power of determination." Today, I want to share 2 stories with you. 2 stories that, well, you've heard them before, most likely. You may not have heard the whole story or the parts of the story I'm going to share with you, but you've definitely heard of at least one of them, and I would be surprised if you hadn't heard of both people. These 2 stories are about people who heard no more times than most of us would ever bother with. And yet they kept going. Because here's the thing, your business doesn't transform through massive, perfect overhauls. It transforms through small, consistent actions, through showing up one more time after most others would have quit. Grab your coffee or water, settle in, and let me tell you about a 65-year-old man with a pressure cooker and a woman with a pair of scissors. Because their stories, well, they're about to change the way you think about rejection forever. Let me start with a man you've probably heard of. He isn't alive anymore, but for a lot of you, he was alive during your lifetime. Because I want to share with you a story that you might not fully know. The year is 1956. There's a 65-year-old man standing on the side of a highway in Corbin, Kentucky. He's watching cars stream past his now closed restaurant. They're not stopping anymore. He already let all of his employees go. You see, a new interstate just opened and it bypassed his place completely. The restaurant he'd poured his love into for years now sits empty. His steady stream of customers gone. Most business owners do not continue after such a devastating business failure, especially at 65. I mean, most people at 65 are hopefully thinking about retirement, about slowing down, taking it easy, enjoying the golden years. This man, while watching the cars go by, looked down at the check he was holding. It was the first Social Security check he'd ever received. He, again, had just turned 65. The amount was for $105. 105. With the loss of his business, that $105 check is all he had to his name. Oh, but as you guessed, this wasn't most men. This was Harlan Sanders, and he had something that he believed had immense value. A recipe for fried chicken that people absolutely loved. A secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, a pressure cooking method that could make chicken in under 10 minutes while keeping it juicy and tender. So, with his power of determination, he loaded up his car with his pressure cooker, his seasoning blend, and he hit the road. Now, here's where it gets interesting, if it wasn't enough already. Sanders didn't have a marketing budget. I told you what he had. He didn't have investors. I mean, this is 1956, so he didn't have a fancy website. He didn't have a social media following. What he had was his recipe and his willingness to demonstrate it in person to anyone who would give him 10 minutes to show it to them. So he drove from restaurant to restaurant, town to town across America. He'd walk in, introduce himself, and offer to cook his chicken right there in their kitchen. If the owner liked it, Sanders proposed a deal. Use his recipe, and the business owner would get a small percentage. Harlan Sanders would receive a small percentage, just 4 cents for each piece of chicken sold. Sounds reasonable, right? You'd think restaurant owners would jump at the chance. They didn't. In fact, many laughed at him. They told him this would never work. They said his recipe wasn't special. They turned him away again and again and again. He was rejected 1,009 times in a row. Let that sink in. 1,009 rejections. That's not hearing no once a day for a year. That's 3 years worth of daily rejection. Now, he didn't do it for 3 years. He went and visited a lot more than 3 per day. But it was 1,009 people who were willing to give him a chance, who were shaking their heads. That's being told your dream is worthless over 1,000 times in a row. Could you handle that? Many of us would quit after 10 rejections. Maybe some of us would get to 20 if we're really stubborn, but 1,000? No. Here's what gets me about this story. Sanders wasn't a young man full of youthful optimism and energy. He was in his mid 60s. He could have easily said, you know what? I tried. I gave it my best shot. Time to accept that it really isn't going to work. But he didn't. Because on his 1010th attempt, a restaurant owner in Salt Lake City, Utah, named Pete Harmon, said yes. Man, that's all it took. That single yes. That became the first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise. And just 8 years later, in 1964, again, he started in 1956. In 1964, Sanders had over 600 KFC franchises across the United States and Canada. In 1964, he sold the company for $2 million. That's a lot of money in 1964. He retained a lifetime salary and continued to be the face of the KFC brand. And by 1976, he was ranked as the second most recognizable celebrity in the world. Yeah. Today, KFC operates in more than 145 countries with over 2,400 locations worldwide, all because a 65-year-old man in 1956 refused to accept that rejection meant failure. By the way, I have, for every single episode of the Portrait Profit Show, a handout. And if you get that handout, you'll also see in my show notes an address, a link where you can get more information if you're curious. It's where I got this information. Oh, by the way, if you want the handout, just send me an email and let me put that up and let me know that you want it. Now, here's what I want you to think about as a photographer. How many times have you not reached out to a potential client because you were, let's say, afraid? How many times have you considered but not raised your prices because you were worried about losing business? How many times have you almost quit because people weren't booking? You know, at 1,009 rejections, Colonel Sanders was just one yes away from the impetus that led him to immense success. Now, for the pessimists among us who are thinking, I get that it's an inspiring story, Jim, but that was decades ago. Things are different, so different now. Fair enough. So let me tell you about a woman who started her billion-dollar company in the year 2000. A woman who turned rejection into rocket fuel. A woman who, like many of us, started with an idea that everyone thought was ridiculous. At 27, Sarah, back in 1998, was selling fax machines door to door in Florida. You know, email was a thing and had been for years by that point. Fax machines were still in use, but they weren't going to be for long. She was selling fax machines door to door. Let me paint that picture for you. That means cold calling businesses, getting doors effectively slammed in your face, hearing no all day, every day. In fact, Sarah later shared that she used to hide in her car and cry in between sales calls because the rejection was so brutal. But here's what that terrible job taught her: how to handle rejection, how to get back up, how to not take no personally. One evening, she came home from work and was getting ready for a party. She wanted to wear white pants, but she had a problem. She couldn't find just the right undergarment that would give her a smooth look instead of one with visible panty lines. So she grabbed a pair of scissors and cut the feet off her control top pantyhose. Boom, problem solved. And in that moment, an idea was born. She wrote in her journal that night when she got home, I want to invent a product that I can sell to millions of people that will make them feel good. Now, most people would have had an idea, felt good about it, and the rest of the story would be moved on with their life. But not Sarah. Sarah is different. She had been able to set aside over a period of years $5,000. And she decided to invest all of it into making this idea a reality. First challenge, though, was that she's going to need a patent. If you've ever looked into patents, patent attorneys wanted thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. She had 5,000, so she couldn't afford that route. She commented that one patent attorney thought her idea was so ridiculous that he started looking around thinking he was being pranked and on some kind of a candid camera show. So you know what she did? As a result of realizing I can't afford to pay a patent attorney, she bought a book on how to write patents and wrote the patent herself. Check. Next challenge. She's not going to be able to manufacture the product herself, so she's got to find someone who can do it. So she started calling hosiery mills in North Carolina. Every single one of them either laughed at her or told her it was effectively a dumb idea that would never sell. After calling every single one of them, what would you do? Well, you know what Sarah is going to do, or I wouldn't be sharing with you this story. Sarah did what she had learned to do in her fax machine days. She got into her car and drove to North Carolina. She showed up at those mills in person, sat in their lobbies, waited to speak to the owners face to face. And you know what? They still said no. The only difference was this time was to her face. Over and over again. Took her 2 years. 2 years. Sarah heard nothing but no for 2 solid years. That's a lot of rejection. And something changed. One mill owner in Charlotte, a man who had already rejected her, just called her and said, Sarah, I've decided to help you make your crazy idea. By the way, that's in quotes. Apparently, those were his actual words. When she asked why he changed his mind, he told her that he's got 3 daughters, and he mentioned it to them. And his 3 daughters were convinced that Sarah had something. She was on to something. Finally, she had someone to manufacture her product. Check. Next challenge. A place to sell it. She had to find a way to get it into stores. So she cold called department stores. And she went in person to visit the buyer at Neiman Marcus. Now, this part of the story I have read in 2 different ways. I'm going to share with you the one that I hadn't heard before. One of them is probably true, or it's a combination of them. But this is the one I hadn't heard, so I'm sharing it. The meeting wasn't going well. It was falling flat. The buyer just did not seem interested. So in a moment of desperation, because Sarah's not a person who accepts no. So then a bit of boldness too. Sarah blurted out, "I need you to come to the bathroom with me." The buyer was probably shocked at this. Probably had never heard that request before, but she agreed. And right there in the bathroom at Neiman Marcus, yeah, I've never made a sale in a bathroom, but probably some of you watching have. But Sarah demonstrated the before and after difference Spanx made by trying on the same white pants. First without Spanx, then with them. The buyer immediately agreed to carry Spanx in 7 stores. Some of us would be happy with that. We're in Neiman Marcus. Sarah wasn't done hustling. She sent a basket of Spanx to Oprah. Oprah Winfrey, yeah. She sent this basket of Spanx with a handwritten note. And in November of 2000, Oprah named Spanx one of her favorite things. The company exploded. In its first year, Spanx made $4 million in sales. By year 2, $10 million. Sarah never did take outside funding. She kept 100% ownership of her company. I point that out because in 2012, so just 12 years after having this idea, Sarah Blakely became the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. Forbes put her on the cover. Time magazine named her one of the 100 most influential people in the world. In 2021, she sold a majority stake in Spanx to Blackstone for over $1 billion. $1 billion. That's B, billion. And to celebrate, she gave each of her 750 employees $10,000 in cash and 2 first-class plane tickets to anywhere they wanted to go. All this is because a 27-year-old woman with a pair of scissors and $5,000 refused to accept that no meant the end. Again, if you get the handout for today, you can see the link to where I got this information so that you can find out more about this story. Now, and I'll put that up one more time, just in case. Now, you may be wondering, what do these stories have to do with a photography business? And I'm going to say everything. See, the common thread in both of these stories isn't these people had some special advantage. Do you have a special advantage? Neither did they. Colonel Sanders was 65, just lost his business, so he was broke with a $105 Social Security check. That's it. Sarah Blakely was 27, not selling fax machines, with $5,000 in her savings. The common thread is that they exercised their power of determination. They understood something that I need for you to understand today. Rejection is not failure. Giving up, that's failure. Sanders faced 1,009 rejections before getting his first yes. Sarah heard no for 2 solid years. And here's the beautiful truth. They were both just one more attempt away from everything changing. So let me ask you, what is it that you could be just one more attempt away from? Are you one more client outreach away from booking your dream wedding client? Are you one more price increase away from finally making what you're worth? Are you one more marketing effort away from filling your calendar? You don't know what you're one effort away from. But I guarantee if you don't make it, you won't get it. The photographers who are successful, those who are making it, aren't more talented than you. They're not luckier than you. They're not smarter than you. They might just be willing, though, to hear one more no than you. But now that you know how close you are, you're willing to hear no one more time, and then one more time, and then one more time. Here's what I want you to take away from today. I want you to first redefine failure in your mind. Sarah Blakely's dad taught her when she was young. Every week at dinner, he'd ask the kids, "What did you fail at this week?" This is Sarah Blakely's father as she was growing up. What did you fail at this week? Is that an odd question for a dad to ask his kids? There's a good reason for it. Because if they hadn't tried something that might result in failure, he was disappointed. Because failure wasn't the outcome, failure was not trying. So that pricing structure you've been afraid to implement, that's not risky. What's risky is never trying it and staying right here where you are right now. Second, your breakthrough is closer than you think. As you know, Colonel Sanders was rejected 1,009 times. Attempt number 1,010 is what changed everything. Maybe you're one email away, one phone call, one Instagram post away from your breakthrough. You won't know if you stop now. The starfish who succeed aren't the ones who don't hear no. They're the ones who keep going after they do. Here's my challenge for you this week. I'm keeping it simple because you don't need to do everything. You just need to do something. Pick one thing, something you've been putting off because you're afraid of rejection. Maybe it's reaching out to a venue you've wanted to partner with or thought about partnering with. Maybe it's raising your prices to an amount that causes your goals to be within reach. Maybe it's posting some behind the scenes content because you're kind of nervous about sharing that kind of thing. Maybe it's reaching out to a potential client who seems out of your league. Whatever it is, I want you to do it this week. Please don't do it perfectly. Don't do it perfectly. Just get it done. And when you get a no, I want you to remember you're not a failure. You're one step closer to your success. You're building your own power of determination story that maybe I get to share on a future Portrait Profit show. Your ideal future isn't waiting for perfect circumstances or to be just right. It's not waiting for you to have all the answers. It's not waiting for you to have a perfect website. It's not waiting for the most ideal clients. Your ideal future begins right now with whatever you do next. Colonel Sanders was 65 when he started. Sarah Blakely was 27 with no fashion experience. How about you? What's your story? You're exactly where you need to be to start writing your own success story. Exactly where you need to be. So go exercise that power of determination because I believe in you. As you know, you get the Portrait Profit Show every single Monday. So make sure to put next Monday at noon on your calendar. You have a busy life. And with the things that I've shared today, you might just forget. So put it on your calendar right now, 1 week from today at noon, Portrait Profit Show. And you may as well make that for every Monday. Every Monday. You know, before I close out the show, I told you that there were two things that I wanted to share with you that Digital Pro Lab was doing. That's coming up. And so let me share those with you. The first thing is a photo walk that's coming up pretty soon on February 1st. Now, I want you to go to digitalprolab.com and go to their events link or calendar link and get more information there. But this photo walk is on Sunday, February 1st at 2 p.m. And they have some special uh, guest speakers who are going to be taking you on this that you're going to love. You're going to love. So put it on your calendar. Sunday, February 1st, 2 p.m. Go to digitalprolab.com to find out more information and to RSVP. There's a small charge for it. It's small. It's really small. Second thing I wanted to share with you from Digital Pro Lab is they are having a Lightroom Classic Masterclass. Most of us are using Lightroom. Not everyone is. I understand that. But so many of us are. This class is going to be fantastic. By the way, I need to check something real quick because now I'm questioning, because I think the photo walk might be free, but this is the one with a small charge. So I got it confused. Pardon me for that. But either way, it's a small charge, and the other one's free. So there you go. But this is one of their photo nights classes, and this one will be available for you to watch online. So I think it's both in person and online, or maybe it's just online. Please go to digitalprolab.com to the calendar and find out more about it. And this one starts, this Lightroom Classic class starts on Wednesday, February 4th. So look into that. All skill levels are welcome for both of these events that are happening. By the way, let me remove that. On Saturday, at the end of this week, I am having a $29 class. It's a class / photo walk because we will be walking around. But it's a two-parter. There's the first half, and you can do one or both. The first half is magic, the magic hour. By the way, some people say blue hour or golden hour. Both of those are misconceptions because neither exist. It's not blue for an hour. It's not gold for an hour. It's called the magic hour that includes both blue and golden. Just FYI. That's what we'll be doing first. The second one is night photography. So after there's no light left in the sky, and we're going to meet at the Alan. So this is going to be a fun event, and in celebration of my 29 years of teaching, I started in 1997. This class, regularly 97, is going to be just $29. Just 29. Yeah. You can go to the Landers Photography Facebook page to get more information about that, or my personal Facebook page. It's there in the feed as well. That's what's coming up. So I want to thank you today, Lens Legends, for joining me. If something in today's lesson sparked an idea for you, a project, a partner, a clearer direction, will you do me a favor and hit that like button or that love button? I can see a lot of you have already. I also ask that you share the Portrait Profit Show with others who you feel could benefit. We're building momentum step by step, and today you build a foundation for your power of determination, where no and failure are just part of the process. And they don't bother you that much because you're one step closer to your definition of success. I'll see you right here next Monday. Same time, same place. And we'll tackle another part of this business together. So as we end another episode of the Portrait Profit Show, I hope that the ideas and strategies we've explored today have resonated with you, and that you're able to move forward with confidence. The world is waiting for your unique vision and your ability to touch lives through your portraiture. So trust in your talent, believe in the impact you make, and let your light shine brightly. Seize today as an opportunity to let your passion soar, making the world a more beautiful place, one portrait at a time. Thank you, Lens Legends, for your time and attention here today. And thank you for the efforts that you make every single day to be such an amazing portrait photographer. Together, we help each other achieve our goals and make a difference in the world through our passion for portrait photography. For Digital Pro Lab and Landers Photography School, my name is Jim Landers, and I bring you the weekly Portrait Profits Show. Until I see you next week, Lens Legends, keep thriving, keep growing. I look forward to watching you grow, because I know you will. You rock. You're amazing. Bye for now.